This device has changed my reading life. Hey guys, I'm back with a different type of video today. As you can see with me, I have the Kindle Paperwhite edition in my hands, and it's my first ever Kindle. It's been a month with this guy, and boy oh boy do I have a lot of things to share. First off, let's start with the specs. If we begin with the standard 11th Gen Kindle, we're looking at a 6-inch Kindle, 300 ppi high resolution display, and 16 gigabytes of storage. Based on Amazon's description, the battery life can last up to 6 weeks with 30 minutes of read time a day. That already is kind of a beast, isn't it? For the Kindle that I bought the Paperwhite Signature Edition in the beautiful, beautiful agave green. For those of you who know me well, it wasn't really a surprise that I got this color, considering green being my favorite color. Although if this color isn't for you, they do have other different color options available, like the black, and then this also really cool denim blue, which also has its own kit. Now, the screen on the Kindle Paperwhite edition is 6.8 inches compared to the 6-inch on the 11th Gen. This could serve as a plus to some people, or perhaps do the opposite. And when you buy this Kindle, you are given the option to get it with ads or without ads with an extra 20-something pounds charge. I personally chose to get this Kindle without the ads because I wasn't really a fan of having them pop up during sleep mode, especially since I knew that some of the recommendations wouldn't really be appropriate to what I myself read. I have heard other reviews though, where people have contacted Amazon and have been able to remove the ads even after buying them with the ads, typically for free, but you would have to give reasons such as you have children and so some of the ads are not appropriate for them. But whether this actually works, I'm not entirely sure, but definitely if you already have a Kindle and you chose to get them with the ads, this is something that you could check out. Storage. I went with 32 gigabytes. And no, I don't need to hear you guys in the comments. I know 32 gigabytes is a crazy size to get, but I didn't really know that until I bought it and actually looked at some of the other things that people have bought. At least I never have to worry about running out of space. For reference, 16 gigabytes can store thousands and thousands of books. Imagine how much 32 gigabytes can. So some additional features that the Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition has is actually its waterproofing. Supposedly it can be submerged into up to 2 meters of water for an hour and still work out to be fine. Although I don't particularly see a situation where this will be handy for me, but maybe if I'm in the bath and I drop it by accident, or if I drop a drink on it, the waterproofing can serve as some security for me. Next is actually the lighting on the display. The Paperwhite has 17 LEDs compared to the 4 LEDs on the 11th Gen, which can give you a wider variety of lighting options when reading in darker environments. For some, this may not be a big issue, but for me, I loved having the flexibility to change it to a load of different lighting options, however I wanted, whenever I wanted. With that also, it offers a variety of color options too. So you can actually warm the temperature of the backlight to make it easier on the eyes. And again, for someone that reads a lot in the evenings, this was a perfect feature for me. Okay, so now that we've actually gone through the specs of this device, let me talk a little bit about my experience with it. Just for context, I got this Kindle because I had stopped reading and I really wanted to spark up my love for reading again. I've never really been a physical book type of girl, although I can picture myself going out to buy collections of books and storing them. I've only ever consecutively read on my iPad or my iPhone. Doing this was okay until it just really wasn't. After a while, I began to get constantly tired from the blue light on my eyes, and it started making it really difficult for me to sleep. Not only that, but when reading with my iPad, the size is just too clunky for reading in bed. It just wasn't really comfortable, and eventually I stopped wanting to pick up my iPad or phone again to read. And that's when I fell into the Kindle love on TikTok. Not only was it satisfying to see other people, you know, buy the clear case, the stickers, the pop socket, I started realizing that it was encouraging me to get back into reading. Now, getting a month into it, I've already been able to read 2 long books. The first being Dune, if you guys have watched the movie, and also The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. Dune was an especially long book, but I didn't feel the struggle of having to read it because I was reading it on this device, and the size again is a really comfortable fit in my hand, so it actually made my reading reading experience quite enjoyable. Not only that, but the size of the Kindle allows me to be able to take it with me on my commutes everywhere, and so when I'm going to work and back from work, I'm still able to read. Another thing that I really enjoy about this is if you're reading on the Kindle, you can choose to be secluded to the books if you really want to. So there's less distractions of having notifications come through on your phone, and it actually allows you to dedicate more time into reading, which I myself really found important since I'm trying to reduce the time that I spend on social media. Oh, that reminds me, when you're reading, actually, let me show you guys. So currently I have open 𝑙ightLark, which I am trying to start reading very soon. One of the cool things that you can actually do is you can make it show the progress of how far you're into a chapter or the book. So I essentially do this by tapping this bit, and it continuously changes. So as you can see, it's showing me the time I have left in the book, which is 10 hours. Then if I tap it again, this is the location of the book. Tap it again, it's off. Tap it again, I'm on page 7. Tap it again, this is how much time I have left in my chapter, 11 minutes. So I'm not really the type of person to read halfway into a chapter and return back to it later. And so having this on here allows me to judge whether I'm able to finish a chapter in the time I have left or whether I'm not. And so it just helps me judge my reading a lot better, which I personally find really cool. But guys, above all, the thing that I loved the most was the battery life. After reading this thing for an average of, let's say, 3 hours a day, I ended up needing to recharge it after 2 weeks. That's really good. If we work that on the basis of their claims, it's stated on their description that this can last up to 10 weeks with 30 minutes of read time. Now, with me reading it 3 hours a day, the calculations still roughly add up. And it just allowed me to stop worrying about whether the battery was gonna die if I'm out, and I didn't really need to take my charger anywhere unless it was hitting, let's say, 10%. Yeah, and it really just made my reading experience a lot more enjoyable and pleasant. If I was to give a couple negatives, I would say it does take quite a bit of time for you to adjust to the black and white. Obviously, it might not be a big deal to some people, but for someone who also reads like mangas, manhwas, comics, all of that, I do sometimes miss having the color on screen because it does help with the experience of reading the book. But this won't really be relevant to someone who isn't reading those type of books. If you're just reading the standard paperback books and you decide to get a Kindle, this wouldn't be really much of a big change for you. Actually, the screen too, I would say, is kind of prone to scratches. So if you really are going to get the Kindle and you want to do like the whole, you know, clear case, stickers, pop socket thing, go ahead. But then also invest in getting these type of cases, because then when you're out and about, it protects the back and it also protects the front. So after all that, it begs the question, should you buy a Kindle? Honestly, it really is dependent on what you yourself want. I've covered quite a few points already, but let's do a quick rundown. First, you need to decide whether it's for you. Do you read mostly in the night? Do you travel a lot? Do you need a reasonable size screen? Are you easily distracted reading on another device? Are you trying to work on a budget? Do you prefer reading on paperback or digital? Knowing these answers can help you pick the right product for you. Generally, the 11th Gen Kindle does everything the paperwhite does, but the paperwhite just executes it a little bit better. If you need to save on expenses, I would suggest just sticking with the 11th Gen. It has all the functionalities you would need to have a smooth reading experience, and it has 16 gigabytes of storage, which is more than enough to store all the books that you could ever want. Or if you're willing to spend a little bit more and you appreciate the bigger screen size, the color temperature settings, and waterproofing feature on the paperwhite signature edition, go for that one. And here's not to say that these are the only two options available. The Kindle does have various other models like the Oasis, and there's another one I can't quite remember at the moment. So before making the decision, definitely try looking into these models as well and see whether they're better suited to you. All in all, this is a good device and I really don't have any other reason to say why you shouldn't buy it. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching till the end. And yeah, I hope I was able to help you in your decision making a little bit better. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Okay, I'm done.